add-ons. All right. So as we were saying, the two concepts that we're referring to in this module are RAID and JBOD. So these acronyms have their definitions, which are as follows. RAID, it is a disk subsystem that combines multiple physical disks into a single logical storage unit. What do we mean by that? What we simply mean is that when you implement a RAID solution, you can have as many disks as you want, but your computer is going to recognize them just as a single unit. But how does this even happen? How can a computer recognize many disks as one? Do you just take multiple cables and plug them into your computer, but the computer sees them as one? We are going to explain the whole of that as we continue into the chapter. The next topic here is just a bunch of disks in bracket JBOD. It is a configuration that places multiple disks in a single logical storage unit, okay? So basically they have like the same definition, but they only differ at the level of their implementation, all right? The JBOD needs you don't need like a very, very special configuration, whereas the RAID has a lot more complex implementation to it that makes it perform all the characteristics that we say it has. So as we proceed, I want us to first of all break down the two types of, when we talk of RAID implementation, there are generally two types that I want us to discuss, okay? So the first type of RAID implementation is a hardware RAID implementation, and the other is the software implementation. As you may know, when we talk of hardware, we refer to anything that is physical. So you now have this device that is referred to as a RAID controller that has a processor in it, which is used to implement the logic that operates between all the many storage disks that you are connecting together. So when you connect all these disks together, you use another device that is called a RAID controller that has its own processor that thinks its own way, is capable of implementing a specific means of data processing within these disks to make sure that you're implementing the appropriate RAID implementation. So the advantage of having a hardware RAID controller is that it is flexible and it is faster. And as a matter of fact, it is more expensive. So with more responsibility comes more challenges. Definitely you find yourself with a higher speed implementation, but definitely it comes at a cost, and that cost is the cost of buying it, the amount at which you buy it. So it is basically just an external hardware that you plug your disks into, then link these disks now to your PC. The next means of implementing RAID is using a software RAID controller. It is simply that a software RAID controller simply uses the computer CPU itself with the operating system to implement communication or the logic that is going to operate between these mini hard drives. So you find yourself having a scenario where it is easier for you to implement. It is generally less expensive, and as a result of the cost, as a result of the low cost, we generally have a slower performance as compared to hardware RAID controllers. Just before we continue, do we have any question? Always remember, you can interact with the reactions that you have in the meeting controls. You must not always speak. Okay. The first, just so you know, there are 5 configurations while setting up RAID controllers. What do I mean by 5 configurations? It means 5 different ways in which you can make your disks to communicate among themselves in order to store your data. The first implementation here is referred to as RAID 0, and synonym for RAID 0 is stripping. What is stripping all about? Stripping is a means of implementing a RAID configuration to hard disk, which is very fast, which has a very fast read and write performance. And it works by splitting your data into 2 halves, storing one half to a particular disk and storing the other half to the second type of disk. But all of these data now make up a single disk. And as you can see on this representation, the D drive, the D drive, okay? So the D drive basically is split into A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1, C2, such that if we take a file of 1 megabyte, send it to be stored to the RAID controller, let's say we send from the computer to the RAID controller, it will take that file and split it into two. So we have 512 megabytes going here, 512 bytes going here, 512 bytes going the other way. Now, what is the disadvantage of implementing RAID 0 or stripping? Though it is cheap, the only problem here is that if one of the disks goes bad, the whole thing goes kaboom, which means the whole data in the drive gets damaged, because basically you're just telling me that half of data that you had is being damaged. It's not just like half, but like we take data, like two of them and split them into two. What happens is you take just one piece of information, split it into two, like half. You must bring both halves together before you're able to read it. When you're writing to the disk, the RAID controller splits the data, sends one part to the disk one, sends the other part to disk two. And when you want to read that data, the RAID controller also takes back both halves and then bring them all together. It's the same thing as if you take an apple. If you take an apple and you cut it into two, you store each half in a room, and one of the room catches fire and one of the apples gets damaged within that fire incident. Is it possible for you to still get back that full apple? Definitely the answer is no. You cannot get back. The whole thing is done. It is no longer a full apple. So the advantage of implementing a RAID 0 is that you basically have a faster read-write performance. But as of the disadvantages, we have, and the disadvantage is that there is no data redundancy. What does it mean? Like your data is not stored in several times, like it is not being repetitive or secured with the means of double implementation. So when we talk of redundancy, I don't want to put too much of an accent on it, because it might get a little confusing. Redundancy is just repetition. When you repeat something, it is safer, because if one source gets damaged, the other source is there. So when you implement RAID 0 or stripping, there is no redundancy and definitely zero fault tolerance. This brings us to the second type of implementation, which is mirroring. Just before we take mirroring, does anyone have a question? Any question? Okay, I believe there is no question. The second, let me target this question to Ms. Nafisa. You just came in. As you just came in for your sake, I'm just going to make a brief summary of the thing that what we just said here right now. We're talking about the various implementations of the RAID configuration. RAID is simply a way of implementing several hard disks in a computer system, so much so that they can function under a single logical unit. That is, you can take 5 disks, like 5 hard disks, connect them together using a specific device that is referred to as a RAID controller. And this device will behave, they are a single unit. So as you can see here, you find disk A, disk 1, and disk 2 within a single system. This 1 and disk 2 all behave as the D drive, whereas this is a single disk on its own. This is an independent disk with another independent disk. But using the RAID 0 configuration or stripping, we can connect these 2 disks into a single logical unit, whereby when we try to store data, the RAID controller splits this data into 2 logical halves and stores each part in each disk. So basically, half of the data is stored in one of the disks. But implementing this comes with a great disadvantage, that if one half of this data gets bad, as you can see, A1, A2, it is A1 plus A2 that makes up A. If A1 gets bad, definitely the whole configuration or the whole data is lost. I just use the analogy of an apple, whereby if you split 2 apples, keep one in each room, and one of the rooms catches fire or gets burned, definitely you lose the whole apple, because half an apple does not make an apple. That's basically what RAID is. aside from RAID, I'm just going to hop back a little bit. Sorry, guys, for the inconvenience it may cause, but I just want to hop back and talk about compare RAID to the other concept, which is JBOD. JBOD stands for just a bunch of disk, and it's an implementation which is totally different from RAID. Why is it different? Because the main purpose here is just to increase your storage space. Based on the type of RAID configuration that you choose, you might be creating yourself, you might be increasing or even decreasing your space. And there are even some RAID configurations that if you implement them, if you have 5 drives of 1 terabyte each, at the end of the day, you don't have 5 terabytes of storage space, you have 1 terabyte. We are going to look at it within the next configurations. Now, let's talk about RAID 1, different from RAID 0, which is stripping. RAID 1 is synonymous to mirroring. And how does mirroring work? When data is sent from the computer or is being written from the computer to the disk, it passes through the RAID controller, definitely either a software RAID controller or a hardware RAID controller. When this data gets here, what happens is that the RAID controller stores 1 copy in each disk, an identical copy in each disk. So let's say a word like Apple. I'm still going to use Apple, okay? Apple, let me say a word like Apple actually comes to be saved. Apple will be saved here in full, and another copy will be saved here, Apple in full. It's not going to be splitted into 2 halves, where half is stored here and the other half stored here, the way we implement RAID 0, which is stripping. With mirroring, you simply put in the exact copy in every single disk. What does this mean? It means if we have 7 disks, 10, 20, but it is not implementable because every of these configurations have the maximum or minimum amount, the maximum and minimum amount of drives that they can support. So we are also going to look at that in the further chapters or further modules, sorry. RAID 1, as we have just been saying, is all about mirroring, which replicates data and stores redundant copies in every single disk. Now, the whole data now behave as one disk. Like it's a single logical unit, like the C drive, but data is being stored 2 times. You find yourself with a scenario where if one of the disks gets bad, the other disk simply takes over. And that's it. That's just it. That's the advantage with RAID 1 mirroring. But now there's a problem. If instead of one of the disks going bad, the RAID controller gets bad, everything goes kaboom. You lose the whole data. Now, the advantage with this is that there is redundancy, but the disadvantage is that if your controller fails, if the RAID controller fails, the whole network goes kaboom. There is another implementation of RAID 1, which is called disk duplexing, whereby instead of having a single RAID controller that stores data into 2 independent disks, we have instead 2 RAID controllers, right? That write to an independent disk. So when we send a single piece of data here, just permit me to annotate this. If we send data to be stored, that data is sent, the same copy is sent to controller A and the same copy is sent to controller B. So this controller stores it inside its own disk, while this one also does the same. Now, if one of these controllers go bad, what happens is this one still has that exact copy of the data, okay? We still have that exact copy of the data here and functioning. I believe that is understood. So, any question before we proceed? Any question, please?
Yes, sir. I got a question, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Where can we find these? Can we find these good controllers nowadays?
Yes, you can always find them. It's a solution that is implemented to date everywhere. It can be implemented anytime. It's just you having several hard disk drives, implementing them together. If you don't have the budget to buy a hardware RAID controller, you can just use the solution which is inside the Windows operating system. Now, The way you implement it in the Windows operating system is found inside the LabSim platform. I believe everyone here have their license. If you go to chapter 5, 5.4, RAID, you're going to learn there how you implement RAID configuration in hard drives. It is very straightforward in the platform. There is a very simple and straightforward tutorial that explains how you do that, how you do implement a software RAID solution.
Okay, sir.
Yes, so chapter 5.4, the lab that is there teaches you how to implement RAID. You'll be one of the tasks you have to do there is to implement a RAID solution. So that being said, is that the only question that you have?
Yes, sir.
Anybody with a question, something that you do not understand? You guys should definitely have something that you don't understand. Otherwise, should I ask? Okay, what is stripping? I'm asking you guys back. What is stripping? Nafisa, Miss Nafisa.
Yes, sir, please. I'm still taking notes. So
Can you answer that question, please?
no, not at all. I can't. I think
But you have to ask the question then if you don't know something, right?
yes, sir.
I think it makes sense that you ask a question when you don't know something. Josh, what is stripping? Josh. Is George with us? Mazule, what is mirroring? Why George is thinking about how to explain what stripping is? Mazule, please tell us what you understand by mirroring or RAID 1. Just everything that you understand.
It's about mirroring. It stores two or more duplicate. It stores data in two different places.
You know what
Two
we should do?
different disk
Okay,
configurations.
let's leave this space. What we are going to do is I'm going to share a whiteboard, and you're going to demonstrate to us as to annotate, like request to annotate on the screen to use the whiteboard. Can you try writing on the whiteboard? You should see annotate on your screen like a pen, and try writing. Can you write on my screen? Try again. What are you seeing?
Everyone writing, sir, or the particular person.
Yes, I mean Mazule should do it. You should see like a pen
This
on
in
your
the
screen.
whiteboard.
There's a pen on your screen. If you tap it, you should be able to write on my screen.
Just ahead of the mic.
Should be able to write like this. Just do anything to make sure that you can write. Okay. While she's trying to figure that out, we are going to continue with the explanation from Josh. Josh, what is stripping? You guys have to demonstrate what you understood by. I have to make sure that you've understood that concept. Josh, up to you. Is Josh here? Okay. Mozilla, have you solved your problem?
Okay.
Not yet. Okay, I will stop sharing. You just start sharing. Do start a new share. I'll stop. Then in your share, what you should do is start a whiteboard. Don't take your screen. Take a whiteboard and share. I think you can do that. Is it working?
No, sir.
The reason I'm trying to do this is so that we all see the thing for a second time and make sure that everyone understands. It's just an attempt to make sure that everyone understands the things again. Because I might be going, nobody wants to ask a question. You might not be understanding. This is the time for me to see whether you're understanding. Irrespective of the fact that you're still going to do it in the Lapsing platform, I just want to make sure you've understood it. So by the time you come to do it, you just go through it right real quick. Okay. Are you able to do that?
So am I to share the whiteboard?
Yes, share the whiteboard. Good, good. Now we are watching the whiteboard. Go ahead and describe how is it mirroring? Yes, how mirroring works. The read one. All the various implementations of read one. Start. Well, you're the teacher now.
I'm trying to write on the screen where I don't know why it's because I'm using my phone, so I'm not seeing how to.
Oh, okay. Explain to us what you're doing. Let us know what you're doing.
Okay, this is an example. The RAID 1 configuration where the data is stored in two or more duplicate disks simultaneously. That is when data is the first disk and this is the second disk. That means when you're storing data, it stores here and it stores here at the same time.
How does it store? How can it store here and store here at the same time? What way? Does it take part of it and put here, take the other part and put the other way?
No, it stores the same information on both sides of the disk.
Okay, so what is now the characteristic of that kind of a solution?
It provides fault tolerance for a single disk. That's if one disk like goes bad, you can retrieve the other information from this other disk. The same
Okay.
information from the other.
Okay. It's nice to change colors when you want to show signs, when you want to show additional information. It's nice to change colors.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Are you on your laptop or I guess you're on your phone?
Yeah, on my phone, sir.
Why not join your laptop? You guys should try joining with your laptop all the time. There are a lot of things that I want you to do that I want you to do just because you guys are using phones. It's not even possible to implement that. There are times where things I needed you to guys to want somebody from the class to connect to my machine and do it themselves, but nobody can do that because you guys are you're all on phone. Ms. Nafisa, are you on PC?
Yes, sir.
All right. That means I'm going to work with you then. All right. Has everyone understood? So basically, here we find please rotate your screen back again. Good, thank you. Just don't. So we find here that this is the RAID controller. That's the RAID controller right there. But then this is disk 1. This down here is disk 1. And we find this other way, disk 2. So basically what happens is the RAID controller is capable. The RAID controller is capable of, capable of storing an identical copy of data in one drive and then implementing the same copy in the other drive. So if we had here A, B, and C, this other way we are going to have the same A, B, and C. So this is very different. This is a very different implementation from stripping. Okay, with stripping, we realize with stripping that what happens is that instead of the data being written in identical copies on both drives, you rather have a piece of the data, like a part of it, is being implemented on one drive and the other half kept on the other drive. So you find yourself having like A1, B1, and C1. Then we other come. This all makes the first part. Then now we also have A2, B2, and C2. Now, what is the point here? The point that this is trying to make is that let's try the labeling here. This is a RAID 1. Okay, RAID 1 mirroring. So this is the point. The point I'm trying to make is that with RAID 1, which is mirroring, the data is not being split into two the same way we have the way we have piece of data in RAID in the RAID 2, in the RAID 0 configuration. So that being said, I would like the next person to come on and explain to us RAID 0. Is it RAID 0? Yes, RAID 0. Okay, someone else should. Nafisa, you're going to do that for us. So I'm going to share a white screen and you do that. You do explain to us how RAID 0 works. Okay, are you okay with that?
Okay, sir.
Request for remote control. You can do that. You can do that by. Do you know how to request for remote control?
No, sir.
At the top of your screen, you should see like an arrow that is facing down. Do you see? If you click on that arrow at the top of your screen, you should see like request remote control.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Request. Okay. Now move the mouse. Move the mouse.
Yes.
Click on the screen first before moving the mouse. Okay. So right now it is Nafisa who is using my computer. I'm not the one using it. That's using a protocol we know as we refer to as RDP, remote desktop connection. She's the one using my computer. Zoom has made that feature very easy to implement for us. Okay, so Nafisa, I believe you understood what rate 0 is. So can you draw the whole diagram and explain while explaining to us, please?
Yes.
All right. Start by labeling what you're drawing. What RAID implementation is it, and what is the name for that RAID implementation? How it works, just go ahead. We're watching.
Wait, how do I? I'm trying to write, but it's coming out right.
You want to write text.
Okay. No, it's okay. My internet is a little bit slow, so the parents can-
Clear what you currently have. There's an eraser tool just above the color. Just above the color. Wait, let me change to eraser for you. Just leave the mouse. Okay, now you can erase. Click before you erase. Good. Erase everything. Okay. Miss Edith, you're welcome. Is Edith in class?
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone.
You're coming very early today. What happened?
I was not at home. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay,
I
so
just went home.
okay, I'm going to let me change it. Okay, can you change to a pen or a text?
No, but please, if you could just explain to me so that.
All right, let me change it to a pen. I just ask for the tool that you want and I change it for you. This
A
is
pen.
yeah.
I just want a pen.
This is text. This one is for text, to type text. Do you need it?
No, I just want a pen.
Okay.
Well done.
Yeah, you have it. You have a pen.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't bother about the aesthetics. Just go ahead. It must not look nice. It should just be understandable.
So with
Zidane,
grade 0,
sorry, excuse me. Zidane, just be preparing to explain. Prepare to explain grade 1 with this duplexing.
Okay, sir.
In the meantime, Mazule, you did not finish explaining to us. You did not finish telling us the advantages and disadvantages of rate 1. So just with mirroring, the run of mirroring, you did not tell us. So just be thinking on how you explain that to us. In the meantime, let's listen to Ms. Nafisa. At level, when you want to write text inside a box, you can use the text tool. I can convert it to the text tool for you. Should I do that?
okay, please.
Okay. What do you want to write in there? What do you want to write?
RC. That's for rate controller.
Want to write there? RC. Is that it?
RC.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. There you go. So she says
Thank
RC stands for rate controller. That's the key to her map. Pay attention, guys. Everybody must ask at least one question. I'm not going to ask questions. You guys will do that. at least one question from everyone. You want to draw a box?
Yes, please.
Just 1 minute. Leave it to me.
Okay.
You can do that now.
Okay.
I guess you want to erase the previous one.
Yes, I do. Please.
Go ahead then. You can do the box.
Yeah.
Mazule, are you inside?
Yes, sir.
Do you now see the importance of using a computer to connect?
Yes, sir.
Please endeavor to connect next class using your PC, okay?
Okay, sir.
All right.
How do I do lines?
Okay, you want to do lines. Just leave it to me again. Leave the cursor. Leave the cursor.
It's done.
Okay, you can do lines now.
So you said, oh, what should I prepare to share? So
RAID 1 with disk duplexing. There are two implementations of RAID 1. We have RAID 1 mirroring and RAID 1 duplexing, disk duplexing. You're preferring for RAID 1 disk duplexing.
Please, can I have numbers maybe or letters?
You can have text.
Text.
It's okay, just type and leave. It will restructure it, will arrange itself.
Okay.
Yes, just type and leave it there. You can do enter. You can do enter to go to the next one down.
I don't seem to be able to. Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any problem?
My network is really slow.
Okay, just go ahead and tell me what I have to type.
Okay, D2, D3, and so on with the other part. D1, D2 to D6.
Okay, so what do we have the other way?
Okay, the same thing. No, D1, D2, D3.
D1, D2, D3.
No, B1, B1,
B1,
B2, B3.
is that okay?
B3. Yes, that's
Okay, so what are you implementing again? Do you know what you're implementing? Let's write the
rate
title.
0. Rate 0.
RAID
0.
0.
Yes. So from what I've
What's the
understood.
synonym? What's the synonym? What's the synonym for RAID 0?
Oh. I do not hear that. Um,
The synonym for rate 0 is stripping.
Okay. Okay.
You either say rate 0 or stripping. You either say rate 1 or mirroring. You either say rate 2 or disk duplexing.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Nafisa, please go ahead now and explain to us what you've done.
So with 0, we can have our data stored in any of these sticks. For example, if I take we store our information in every of these disks, just that it doesn't go in totality into one disk. Just like in the case of Neuron, for example, it's the same data that is stored in everything. The totality of the data, for example, will be in D1, D2, D3. But with Neuron, it's not the same thing. Part of the data will be maybe in D1, and the other one will be in D1 or D2 or then D3. The inconvenience with this one is that once one disk gets bad, we lose every other one. Yeah, same goes for if the rate controller, for example, gets bad, you lose all your data too. So that is what I explain.
Okay, guys. Guys, did she explain well?
Yes, sir. To get the necessary documentation.
Is it correct? Is it what she said? Is it correct? That's what I'm asking. Is it correct what she said? You guys should answer me now.
Yes, sir.
Mazule, do you think it's correct or not?
No, I did not quite get what she was saying. My network was,
Choppy. But are you okay now? Is your network okay now?
yes, it's
So-
stable.
Okay. Nafisa, let me just give you a single tip. The thing is, your explanation was all right, but the representation, the visual representation is kind of confusing for someone who is trying to learn it for the first time. Can Nafisa hear me? Nafisa, if you're speaking, your microphone is mute. Your mic is mute.
Sorry, I have a little problem.
Okay, yeah. What I was saying is that your explanation was okay, but from the visual representation, someone who is just coming in will not be able to follow up or with understand what you're trying to talk about. So what I want you to do, yes, what I want you to do is use a simple or a consistent naming scheme. Say like A1, A2, B1, B2, you get right? Don't use mixture of letters.
Okay.
Because basically D and B cannot make one letter.
Okay.
But A1 and A2 can make up A. Right?
Yes.
I believe you all do mathematics where if you have, I believe you all do mathematics where if you have A plus 2A, I think it's going to be equal to 3A. You can add up, right? But if we have A plus 3B, what can it go? Definitely we have to end the operation at this level, right? Yes. So use a naming scheme that can add up. Don't use this one. Okay, so I'm just going to, if it's taking a lot of time, sorry about that. I just really want people to understand what is happening here. I really want you to understand what's happening here. So, like Control Z. Okay, so just go ahead, do your thing. If you need a resource, just ask me and I give it to you. Miss Edith, have you understood anything from what she explained? Just before she continues with her explanation, did you understand anything or do you have a question? I'm not sure Miss Edith can hear, she can hear me. That's fine. Delete you can wipe all the data that is inside. The only thing, just leave it to me. Let me wipe it for you. Leave the mouse. Okay. Let me wipe it for you. Just wipe this, wipe this, wipe this, and wipe this. That's all right. You can now put in new data. You can use the cursor again. Okay. Use capital letters, please. The other people, you guys are going to explain at the end of the session. We need to maximize time so that we can at least cover the whole rate chapter. We need to cover the whole rate chapter. So yeah, is it just A? It seems like she's out of the meeting or something. So, okay, go ahead. Just let me do it. Let me do it quick. Just tell me what to do. What is under A2, A0? What do we have under A0? The mic is mute.
I wanted to put A 0.5 just to let you know that when we add up with the other one on the other side, we'll get 1.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, that's fine. I think at A0 we understand. A0 plus A0 make up A0.
Yes.
Yes. So let's use that analogy and go with the next one, which is A1.
Yes.
A1.
A1. The other side.
The next is
A2.
A2. Let's go the other way. What is here?
A0. I wanted to put 0.5, but A0.
This is A.
A1.
Now A2. Okay. So technically, guys, we are done with what she was trying to do here and explain the whole thing. This is what rate 0 stripping looks like. Okay. So let me just explain really quick so we can catch up with time. With rate 0, you have a rate controller. Nafisa, just please leave your mouse.
Okay.
Yeah. Rate 0 is synonymous to stripping, and it has basically a rate controller that divides data into 2 equal halves, send one half to one of the disk and the other half to the other disk. So such that when it needs to be read or it needs to be gotten back, they have all these 2 halves are brought up again, and then they are merged at the level of the rate controller. This means that when we need to write data, okay, when you need to write data, at this level, it is being split into two parts. At this level, it is split into two parts. One goes this way, the other part goes this way. And same thing, when the data needs to be read, this part meets with this one here, and then they make up that single piece once again. All of them, they make up the whole again. And then, yeah, you find yourself with the whole data, which is letter, you find yourself with letter A. That's just it. I want to believe that you guys have understood. So,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay. The other people, we are going to hear from you at the end. Now we talk about, we're at the disk duplexing. So we said it is the implementation of a RAID configuration where we have two independent RAID controllers, because with the traditional RAID 1, if the RAID controller goes off, the whole thing is bad. But if just the one drive goes bad, the other disk can still continue. So in order to prevent the complete loss of data if we lose the RAID controller, we can implement the second type of RAID, one which is disk duplexing. So we have two independent RAID controllers that can store data, exact copy of data. So when the data comes again, when data comes to the PC, it is being splitted into these two people again. They now store, everyone stores their share, and the other person also stores their share. If this person goes bad, there is still this whole data that is very, very functional in the other way, okay? Yeah, so that's simply how this duplexing works. Funny thing I want you guys to have in mind is that all these disks, irrespective of the number of disks that we implement, all of them make up a single drive. The computer recognizes them under a single logical unit as if they were one. So it doesn't matter the number of disks that you have, the computer is going to recognize them as one. So we continue to RAID 5.
Please, sir,
This
can
is
you
RAID
come
5.
again?
So
I was saying, please, can you come again? You said the computer recognizes every disk as one.
yes, when you implement RAID configuration, it is because you want to create a logical storage unit where you implement many drives, you put many disks in your computer, but they all behave as though they were one. The computer recognizes them as one. That is the goal. That is the goal when you implement RAID, to enhance data redundancy, and generally for data that is sensitive. If one of the disks goes bad, because in your computer some disks are bound to be damaged, right? But when you have a RAID solution implemented, if one of those disks goes bad, depending on the RAID implementation that you use, you can still always get back to your data. You will not even notice it. You will not even notice unless you have configured your RAID controller to tell you when one of the disks is bad.
Okay, sir.
So I'm repeating this again. Chapter 5.4. The labs there teach you how to implement RAID. You are going to actually implement it in a virtualized computer that is there. They are going to virtualize the computer and give you the steps. If any of you have a challenge with implementing a RAID configuration, you should tell me. I'm expecting that by Wednesday, all of you should be able to implement RAID configuration, even if you have to skip everything else that you're doing just to go to chapter 5.4 and implement RAID. You should leave here this week with a new skill. Try as much as possible to learn a new skill every week. That's how you become a better person. You don't become a better person by learning everything in one day or something. Like you actually have to work on it day by day. And by working day by day means try to get at least a skill every week. You already have the resources with you. I don't really know what's holding all of you back, but you have all the resources. Is it time? You're not very much. Everyone has his own share of being busy, but I believe that you can manage your time properly to get the most out of it. I hope I'm making a point, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. just find a way to make it to, you're not too busy, you're not busy than any other person. Every other person has things to do, but definitely you should create time to for the things that matter. If you get, believe me that if you give yourself the ability to learn just 2 skills per week, 2 skills per week, in a month, you will not recognize yourself. In 1 month, you will not recognize yourself with the amount of things that you'll be able to do. So just giving your all, and I believe the best is yet to come. So has everyone understood how this duplexing works?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are back to RAID 5. With RAID 5, we are going to talk about RAID 5 simply implements RAID 0 with an upgrade. RAID 5 is RAID 0 with an upgrade. What do we mean by RAID 0 with an upgrade? This means that it is just another way of implementing RAID 0, but taking care of the removing the fact that there is no fault tolerance there. And how is this fault tolerance taken away? So let me talk about RAID 5 first of all. It is a means of implementing a RAID configuration by using a single RAID controller to control several disks. You can see here that we have 5. It is a minimum of 3 disks, but we can have up to 5 and even more, okay? So what happens here is this. When data is being brought into the RAID controller splits that data into 5 equal pieces. You get me? The RAID controller, I need all of your mic. This one is very, very important. I need all of your mics to be on, sorry. Unmute yourself, you all. I want to be sure that I'm hearing you. Yes, okay. With RAID 5, stripping with parity, it is simply implementing the RAID 0 with another concept that we refer to as parity. Now, what is parity? Parity is simply a particular type of information that is being stored about data that is kept somewhere. So if I'm keeping ABC with me, the information about me storing ABC is held somewhere. That information is referred to as parity. So it is thanks to parity information that we can use to reconstruct data that was in a particular drive. Now, how does this work? We know that with the regular RAID 0, if one drive goes away because it is being split into 2, let's work with this particular 2 here. Let's work with these 2. If one of these goes away, let me use this, sorry. Yes, if one of these goes off, we know that we have lost the whole data because the data has been split into 2 parts, okay? But now, how do we implement this solution better? Because RAID 0 is actually good. It's just the fact that if one of the drives dies, the data is being split. If one of the drive dies, everything is gone. Now, how do we even implement this thing better? This is how it works. The RAID controller sends all the data, it splits the data into 5 independent disks. So when you send like one piece of information, it is being split into 5 halves, and each half is being stored in 1 disk. Now, there is an extra unit in that disk that is reserved for parity information. What is parity information again? It is information about the data that the next disk is holding. So you can see here that the E part of this place is holding parity information about disk E. You can see that the D part of the disk 2 is holding parity information about the previous one, about this one. The C part is holding parity information for this one. And in fact, let's just say parity information for every drive here is being kept inside every single unit here that you see. So such that if one of these, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think we will make sense at the end of the day. See something. There is something here that if there is always a hot spare inside stripping with parity. What is a hot spare? It is another disk. It's a seed disk which is empty, but it is connected to the PC and it stores no data. Why is this? So that if one of these disks tend to get bad, all these other disks will provide the parity information that they have. And with this parity information, we are going to be able to reconstruct the data that was found in this disk that got bad, and that data will be migrated into this new disk that we refer to as the hot spare. I believe you guys understand. Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So yeah, this hot spare is just there like a reserve person, such that if one of the disks goes bad, the parity information stored in every disk can be used to reconstruct the data that was there, and generally, basically, the other one now acts as a replacement. So you can see now that since A1, B1, this one has gone bad with the A1 information, the parity from here and here has been used to reconstruct the data that was in it and then migrated to the next disk, which is available, the hot spare that was available. You can now see that the A1, B1 data has been reconstructed in it. I believe you guys see.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this A1 is parity for this one, B1, B2 parity for this one, and generally I believe it makes sense. But now the problem here is this: if two disks get bad simultaneously, you lose the whole thing. Everything goes bad. If you lose two disks, everything goes bad because you need at least 4 functional so that they can reconstruct data for one. And you need a hot spare. If after using the spare disk, another 2 disks go bad, there is no more spare to reconstruct the data, the whole thing goes bad. Okay. So now with stripping, with parity with stripping, you generally use the amount of disk that you use sum up to be the total storage space, because data is not being stored redundantly. There's no redundancy. There is no redundancy. Data is being splitted. That's why you find yourself with you having the total 20 terabytes. If you have another type of drive, if you have another implementation of this thing, like with mirroring is going to provide to you for every 5 terabyte that you use, you see that we have 4 disks here of 5 terabyte each. If we use mirroring, well, the total here is going to be 5 terabyte because it is simply a duplicate of this data that is kept here, the duplicate that is kept here. But all of these data here are unique. They are not identical. They are simply different parts that make up the whole. Now let's take this analogy. You guys can let's take this analogy. When we look at let's see right back here. Okay. Let's use the analogy of a football match. There are 12 players in the field. Or let's just say there are 5 players in the field. There must be 5 players in the field. I don't know which sport. Yeah, it is basketball. Sorry, basketball has 5 players. Let's use basketball. There are 5 players in the field. Every player knows something about every other player. Like, you know a bit of information about every single player. Player A can know how player B's leg looks like. Player B can know how player C's head looks like. Player C knows how player D's leg, D's waist looks like. And you just store all this small information about every person in the team. Okay? Now, when you store this information, then it makes a way that when you are playing, if one person has an injury, all of you can contribute the little information that you know about this player, and it will be used to reconstruct, to like import, like migrate the data that this person had into the other player that was the reserve bench. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, sir, I don't understand.
Who does not understand?
I'm the one, sir.
I don't even know who is speaking. Okay.
No.
Okay. Let me explain. Keeping with parity, I'll start it all over again. I want to use the basketball analysis, okay? Basketball analysis. You must not be a basketball fan to understand. The thing is, in basketball, we have 5, there's a 5 players enter the field at once. Do you understand? 5 players enter the field at once. And you must have at all time 5 players inside the field. The 6 disks that you see here, we refer to it as the hot spare. But in this case, we'll refer to it as a reserve player. We know these players that always sit on the bench waiting to replace somebody that gets injured. We know them, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the hot spare here is the D6. So it is connected to the match. It is watching every single action, and it is just there waiting to intervene. But at the same time, it is performing no action. It is just there waiting. Now, if we say a defender here, let's say this A person here is a defender. The defender gets an injury. The defender gets injured and cannot keep playing. The person needs to be sent out, but then this other person has to step in. How do you step in and just start playing a totally new role? You don't have to play a new role. When you get in, you have to replace the person that was there by performing the task that person was playing. Now, what is parity? Parity is every single information that all the other players have about the player that just got injured. Like the player who is going out has some certain things that has certain roles that the person is doing, that is performing in the team. So every single of these players, they contribute a little bit about what they know of that player's role, and then now they use it to transfer the player's role or functionality to you, the seat player, the reserve player, or the hot spare. So when they transfer it to you now, you're capable of now taking that person's role, and now you find yourself now with all the 5 players back into the field. Do you understand now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it confusing? I don't know. Am I confusing you people?
No, sir, you're not.
Okay. I want to believe that you guys understood. But then, now that we had just 6 players, like 5 players with 1 spare, one person got bad, it was fine. But now, what if 2 people get bad after we have already used the hot spare? We don't have any reserve again. Can you play at 4? You cannot play at 4. Remember, we said that you must be playing at 5. You must be 5 players before you're able to play. There is no more, even if we have parity about all of these players, we have information that we can use to reconstruct the new player. But do we have a hot spare to reconstruct those players? We don't have any. So the whole network, the whole team, or the whole let me just say the whole implementation goes kaboom. If it's in terms of basketball, the match has ended, they are forfeit, they have won you guys by forfeit. So there's nothing you can do. You can no longer play. If it's in case of RAID 5, the whole data is damaged. I believe that is understood. It is very fast. There is no data redundancy, but there is fault tolerance. There is RAID 10 also, mirror stripping. We have here stripping with parity, and the other way we have mirror stripping. I want to believe that you all have understood, first of all, stripping with parity before we continue. Have you all understood stripping with parity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Another way, George, did you understand stripping with parity?
Yes, sir.
If we have another way that RAID 5, which this parity information could be stored, is instead of storing the information on every single disk, we could dedicate a single disk to just keep the parity information. So all you do is just store parity information, and then you just migrate, you just put that information in the spare disk when any of these other disks get bad. So when any of the disks that you see here, when they get bad, you simply have to transfer the parity information that you had from here. Because this parity information is this information is coming from here, it is being stored here. You have to transfer all that information now and put it inside the hot spare. So you have now migrated the data from that disk into this person. That's how the whole thing works. I believe that was properly understood. So now let's continue to the next slide. The next slide here is talking about mirror stripping. Okay, mirror stripping. What is mirror stripping all about? It is another type of implementing. It is a way RAID 10 combines RAID 0 and RAID 1. Nafisa explained RAID 0, Mazule explained RAID 1. When you bring RAID 1 and RAID 0 together, they make RAID 10. So basically, this 0 and this 1. That's a crazy analysis, but that's how it is. RAID 1 operates inside RAID 0. How does RAID 0 work again? We said RAID 0 works by splitting data into two halves, right? Splitting data into two halves. And RAID 1 works by duplicating data. So when this data comes now from the RAID controller, let's say an apple, the apple is splitted into two. One half is sent to the RAID 1, another half, let's call this mirror 1 and then mirror 2. One half is sent to mirror 1, the other half is sent to mirror 2. But when it reaches mirror 2, it enters another RAID controller that duplicates that data. So we now have two halves this way and then two halves this way, but the halves are all like of the same type, of the same idea. How would I say? Let me use slippers. Let me use two-rope slippers. Everyone here knows two-rope slippers. If we come here and then we send two-rope slippers, a pair, right? One pair, one side is sent this way and the other side is sent the other way. This is the left leg. This is the right leg. But when it reaches the second RAID controller, which is RAID 1, the left leg is being duplicated. So if we had A to be the left, A is being kept 2 times. So we have 2 copies of the left leg. And then the right leg that came to the next the second RAID controller here, it also duplicates the left leg. Let's say the right leg. The right leg is B. So we now have 2 copies of the right leg. Now, if one of these disks goes bad, if one of the legs, one of the mirror copies inside RAID 1 gets bad, the other mirror copy or the duplicate can take over. We can use this one and this one. Let me show that. We can use this one and this one to still make up that data because it is the same thing that we have here. This one is equal to this one is equal to this one. But what happens if all of these make a single unit there? All of these make a single unit. In stripping, they have been stripped. This is one half, but this half here has two copies. This half here has 2 copies. If one copy goes bad, the data is fine. But if we find ourselves in a scenario where if both copies of one side of one half go bad, it is just the same thing as this place. It's just the same thing as this place where if one copy goes bad, where were we? Stripping. Yes, if one copy goes bad here, the whole data goes kaboom. That's just the same thing. So you find yourself, this is one part because the 2 x's here are going to sum up to let me draw that. These 2x are going to form up to a big X, and then this one is just one half, this is the other half. Both of them cannot make up. This person cannot make up the whole data again because the whole other n is gone. So that's why you find yourself now with a scenario where the whole data goes kaboom. So that's what we call mirror stripping. You strip first, then you implement mirroring with the strip parts. That's just how it is. So basically, we have talked about the several types of RAID implementations. We've talked about in this chapter, we discussed hardware and software RAID implementation. We discussed RAID 0, which is stripping. We also talked about RAID 1, which is mirroring, and RAID 1, disk duplexing. At the same time, we looked at RAID 5, which is, what is RAID 5 again? Stripping with parity, We looked at RAID 5, stripping with parity, and last but not the least, we looked at RAID 10, which is mirror stripping. Do we have any questions? In the lab, you are going to create RAID arrays, implement a RAID solution, and that should be it. We are done with chapter 5.4. For the rest in this thing, it is just extra skills that you can get. You can go through the lab and go through the PowerPoint and you understand. So we are just going to take in some questions right now. Do we have questions? First of all, is RAID 10 understood? Or do I need to break it down again?
Understood.
Wow, that's nice.
Understood, sir.
Did you understand? Zidane?
Yes, sir.
You understood rate 5, rate 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. Mazule, did you understand rate 10?
Yes, sir, it's understood.
What about you, Josh? Did you understand rate 10? Josh, we cannot hear you. Have you understood rate 10? He seems to have issues with his network. So that being said, I said that earlier. I said, even if you have to leave everything that you have and just go to this 5.4, I want you to go to 5.4 and work on the RAID lab, the lab that is there for RAID implementation. You will see how you actually implement RAID, and you will learn even more than I said here. Everything that I did say here, you will learn even more when you go through the lab. So I beg of you, before Wednesday, at least you guys should have completed chapter 5 and covered the whole RAID module, 5.4 particularly. Even if you have to go to 5.4 before going back to your current level of progression, I need you to do that. Time is up, unfortunately, so we're just going to work with this the way we have and take a couple of questions before we call it a day.
Sir?
Yes, we are taking your questions. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, my dear.
So I just wanted to understand a little bit with 5 again well. So if I understand well, the stripping with parity, it means that the data will be splitted in 5, right?
Yes.
So that hot spare, does it mean that there is still another disk which is just there, which is made up of parity, which comes in place only if the other one only if one maybe gets bad?
If you have 5 disks that store data and 1 hot spare, making it 6, right?
Yes.
There are 2 ways that you could implement parity information. 1, 5 of the disks all store data, and also one of a particular section, a partition inside each of these disks stores parity information. Now, all of them, the 5 disks store data, and a particular section in them stores parity information. That is one of the ways to implement it, such that if any one of them, let's say disk 3 gets bad, the parity information that is used here, that is being stored here, will be used by all these other people to reconstruct disk 3's data on the hot spare. That is one of the ways you can implement RAID 5 stripping with parity. The other way you could implement RAID 5 is by storing all the parity inside one disk, disk 5, and then all the other 4 disks are just there functioning normally, but disk 5 is only used to store parity.
Okay.
But now, yes, those are so there are actually 2 implementations of RAID 5. Then now, when one of these disks 1, 2, 3, and 4, if any of them goes bad, the disk 5 now reconstructs the data that was found there and then stores it inside the hot spare, which is disk 6. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great. Do we have any other question? Okay. So, guys, officially the session has ended. If some of you have things to rush to, you can do that. But we are going to be working with. I want to work with a couple of you that have specific issues. Let's see how we can address your issues. If you are having challenges with some labs, we can use the next couple of 20, 30 minutes to look at the problems that you have. So the meeting has ended. I'm stopping the recording here. Have a good day. Have a good night, sorry. And looking forward to seeing you working in the labs. I'll be monitoring your progression and hoping to see you guys back on Friday. So if you do have any problem you want us to work one-on-one or personally, you want me to assist you on something, you can just stay back in the meeting. For the rest, we are done here today.